Good morning, everybody. John here at Havoc Maker Studio, and I'm hoping you guys had a good weekend. And as usual, I did because I survived, though I am physically in pain and I am sore as all get out. But you're not here for that. You're here to obviously you're looking at your screen, or if you're listening, we're going to be talking about some Games Workshop stuff. Though I promise it's not going to be poopy pants. Not me being poopy pants. It might be other people being poopy pants about it, about the article, or about what has happened. But I'm not going to be angry John rant about it. I also later on today I'm going to be trying, as long as everything works out, to cover a speculation video for Marvel Crisis Protocol, since we have mini extravaganza coming up in 10 days. And I put together my speculation based on the schedule that we covered last week, what I think we might be getting, and a not so exclusive sneak peek / leak as I thought it was for Star Wars Legion, which is unfortunate, but we're still going to cover that news, hopefully before it drops officially from Atomic Mass Games. I'm trying to beat them out so I can at least get that video out there for you guys. In fact, I might actually get that video out before this one. So we'll see. Anyways, right now we're going to talk about Games Workshop shutting down a major Chinese recaster. Two things. First up, this article on Spikey Bits by Rob Bear. I'm going to have the link in the description below so you guys can read the article in detail. It's a small, short article. You can take about 2 minutes to read it and you're done. But I want to make sure I give credit where credit is due, especially since I didn't get the email that we're going to talk about that's covered in this article. And I'll explain that in a minute. And the second one is we're going to be talking about major Chinese recaster getting shut down by Games Workshop. And if you're not familiar with what a recaster is, especially since there's a lot of people that are new to the tabletop miniature scene, especially those that might be here on the channel, or they maybe they're not new, but they never heard of recasters. So what they do is take an existing product, in this case, tabletop miniature games. They're miniatures, brand new on spruce. That means they pull them right out of the box. They don't take them apart. They don't assemble the models. They just have them brand new, just right out of the box, and they make a mold. And usually those molds are made out of silicone. And silicone, there's cheap silicone, and then there's some really high quality silicone. They'll make the mold and use resin, varying degrees of resin, but still relatively cheap resin. They'll pour it into the mold. And about 85% of the time, you'll get a high quality mold. You'll get a good pool. And that means that, well, literally 85% of the time, after you've poured the resin, it's heated up, it's hardened, you pull it out, cure it, and clean it. 85% of the time, it is perfect quality. And whether you're using it for your own personal use or you're reselling it, like a lot of these Chinese recasters. And it's not just Chinese recasters. I think that's, most people will just call it a China cast, but I would say a lot of does come out of China, but there is a bunch that will come out of the Russian Federation. And of course, maybe not right now, but also out of Eastern Europe, Canada. And I think a lot of the ones we've seen here in the US are mainly, well, there's not really, I can't think of anybody in the US, any companies in the U.S. I've ever heard of recasting, or I don't want to say companies, but groups recasting outside of personal use. I have met people that have done it for personal use, whether they're still doing it or not, I don't know. At any rate, I don't know where I was going with that. But it's just not Chinese recasters. So recently, Games Workshop, they have their legal team that hunts down anybody that remotely violates their IP. I mean, they are pretty gosh darn cutthroat. We're talking like ex-SAS, Super Assassin, James Bonding, 007, Special Forces, Delta Force, whatever you want to call it. I mean, they're not going out and actually like assassinating people, but they're definitely using a lot of legal weapons to shut down anybody that violates their IP in a way that threatens current product line or upcoming product line like we just saw recently with the Warhammer Plus app, and about a year or so ago when they went out after any content creator for Warhammer related videos and such. They just were ruthless, and a lot of times I think we can all agree that it was totally uncalled for. Regardless, that's my poopy pants part. But they also go after recasters, and the problem with recasters though is that recasters, and I mean this in the nicest way possible, they're like cockroaches in the sense that you kill one, two or three are going to pop up, or their kids are going to pop up, or whatever. The recasters, you take them down, they pop up twice as strong and spread out, and they still have their mailing list. They reach out to the people that they know, and at least they can verify, especially the older customers. The longer you've been a customer, the more reliable you are. They're probably reaching out to you first over all the new ones, and they'll rebuild their client list and make tons of money. And they do make tons of money when you take into account the cost of silicone, the cost of resin, the cost of shipping, and getting about 85% of their casts coming out perfect for sale. They are making a mint, even with their discounted prices. So the one in particular we're going to talk about is CDR or CDR-Shop. And there's going to be a lot of people from East Coast, at least here in the US, East Coast to the West Coast, and as far as I know, at least Missouri and, well, I guess Alaska. I don't know if Alaska is really that way, but whichever way Alaska is, I think it's that way. That looks about right. That they're going to be very sad to see CDR-Shop go, or to get that email. I didn't get that email, which is fine because I can't remember the last time I bought any Games Workshop product, or let alone had a recast come across my desk. So now, caveat again, I do not condone going out and buying recasts. Have I come into contact or purchased recasts before? Absolutely. I sometimes knowingly, sometimes unknowingly, I've gotten my hands on recasts, and I've since stopped that practice for at least, I would say, 5 to 7 years now, mainly because I just got out of that aspect of the hobby, or out of the hobby Games Workshop itself. And usually I'm working at a game store and I get a sweet discount, so why worry about that? At any rate, CDR sent out an email to everybody on their mailing list that said goodbye, said basically shutting down business for good, and that a handful of people are buying all their master molds. So that means that they're either buying their master molds and they're going to start their own business, or they are just saying that they're selling them off, and they're just going to pop up again with a new name, with trusted names off their mailing list, and then rinse and repeat. Which reason why I say trusted names off their mailing list is because it's not necessarily anything that their new Games Workshop's infringement assistant or their legal department are doing to hunt these people down. What they're really relying on is individuals like you and I. I'm not saying you particular or myself, that is going, hey, these are recasters. Now, when I was working for Games Workshop and I did come across recaster information, I will admit, because I was Games Workshop employee and I had a ethical, moral, maybe even a legal requirement to report on it. And I reported on at least one. Now, this is back in like 2011, late 2011, when I was still flag waving and saluting and I ma'am, I sir, everything for GW. I was a hardcore enthusiast and patriot for everything Games Workshop. But since then, I most certainly have not. But it takes people, the average people, to report it either directly to Games Workshop via email, or maybe they have a friend that works at a Warhammer store or a Games Workshop store. They could even be a Games Workshop employee. That's not too, I use the term patriotic very loosely. I realize what today is. It's Memorial Day, and it's probably not the term I should be using, but I think you understand. Loyalist, there we go. Aha. That they feel guilty or maybe a little ashamed. I'm not saying they should or should not, but maybe they felt guilty, maybe they felt ashamed that they were doing this for whatever reason. It does happen. I'm not going to go into the psychology of it because I don't want to break out the DSM-5. I don't want to do the research for it, but I most certainly can if you guys want to challenge me on it seriously. But they'll feel bad about it, and they'll go and basically tattle on themselves. And then they'll pass on that information either directly to corporate via email or, shamefully to their employee that they might know. Or they might be doing it to garner favor in hopes that, well, man, I just dropped some dimes on some Chinese recasters because, screw China. Kind of screw China. But they are going to do that for hopes of getting maybe some sort of favoritism, maybe a reward. I can tell you, Games Workshop officially will just, especially if you send, it's all electronic, you send them an email dropping that information, they just send you a thank you, we'll look into this, we appreciate it, etc., etc. Then that's it. That's where it cuts off. And if you are somebody special, like maybe you've got like 10 million YouTube followers, God, I wish I could do that. And maybe they might do something nicer for you. But 99.9% of us are just going to get a thank you email, if that. So don't think that you're getting anything out of this. You're going to get any clout. You're going to get any sort of reward or get elevated in the hierarchy of godliness. Like, oh, now I can go to Games Workshop and I'll get, a letter of appreciation and be praised, and I get to meet Duncan. Well, not Duncan anymore, but you know what I'm saying. So it's really people just dropping dimes, and I'm not saying don't drop dimes. I definitely know a lot of artists out there. Actually, a couple of my friends are literally artists that are making money off of their wonderful, beautiful art, and they've been victims of piracy, and it hurts them. And so, in that sense, yeah. Now, do I want to stick it to the Warhammer corporate? Yeah, F them. But for artists, writers, and such, I don't want them to be hurt, because especially if there's a loss of revenue and money. I think the Games Workshop people that are designing all this stuff and coming up with the molds and stuff, they're protected. They're getting paid a salary to do all this stuff. So it's not like they get to take their creations with them when they leave. But boy, I'm starting to get and try to justify one thing over another. So I'm just going to stop. At any rate, here's the information for CDR-Shop.com. It says CDR-Shop is permanently offline and will not come back. That's if you try to go to the website. And they mentioned here in the article that if the rumors are to be believed, the quality of models from this particular seller was better than the originals from Forge World. I can guarantee you that the quality of not only the resin, but even their plastic to resin, that means they took a plastic kit, like say heavy intercessors, and they recast them using resin. So plastic to resin, which normally is not a good thing, because resin, once it's hardened and cured, can be, depending on the model, very brittle. So when it breaks, it breaks, and you're really kind of screwed, because resin breaking versus plastic breaking are two different sets of problems. At any rate, the quality was exceedingly amazing, far better than what Forge will do. And I bought a lot of Forge World, ladies and gentlemen, a lot. I know, at least, I'm not going to talk about before or after my time with Games Workshop as an employee, but as an employee with Games Workshop, for the 2.5, almost, I would just go say 3 years. It's almost 3 years. I spent around 6,000 GBP, or the British pounds, per year on Forge World alone. That's not taking into account what I spent at my store. At that time, we were like 50% discount. I don't know what they get now. I've heard that they get a lower discount now as employees, which is a shame. But 6,000, that's like $8,000 or maybe 9,000 at that time per year, right? That's a lot. I was a Forge World fan, so I know Forge World quality, and that's not taking into account all the legit Forge World that I've bought since then. Now the quality is always varied when it comes to legitimate Forge World stuff, especially the flatter the panel, the more likely it's going to be warped and or cracked. Missing parts, parts not even fully molded. They were just popped out and thrown into the box. Just really bad quality coming out of Forge World, and which is bad. What you got from Forge World is what you should expect from a Chinese knockoff, right? Or what they call a China cast. But it was different with CDR. They produced high quality product at a significant, around 70% ish discount off of games, off of Forge World. So just an example. I may or may not have come into contact with the Mastodon Heavy Assault Transport from Forge World from CDR-Shop. Now, here in the US, that's almost a $600 model. I may or may not have, I can't verify because I've got literally no receipts or email traffic or anything to prove this, but I might have roughly gotten it for $110. Might have. I'm not saying I did, but I might have. That is a significant discount. What is that, like 70, almost 80% off? I could be wrong. You guys do the math for me. That gives you an idea, and the quality of it far exceeded Forge World. Of course, I actually got that product. And I that's just shocking. Nowadays, I definitely won't do it. I definitely don't, because I want to support the creators, the artists, the writers, whatnot for the product. Especially since I've stopped with Games Workshop. I doubt I'm going to go back to buying anything Games Workshop. I've got one army, and it's just going to sit there collecting dust. On the other side, I'm going to be delving into other games, and I'm most certainly, since there are smaller games, more likely they don't have recasters. And even if they did, I wouldn't even go near those recasters, because the smaller games, the price point is right on point. You don't have to do too much, and there's a lot of 3D printers out there you can also delve into. So neither here nor there. Now, I am going to say good job, Games Workshop, on taking down a major recaster, because these guys were hand over fist. I know, I would say at least 25, 30 people that were benefiting from CDR-Shop. I'm not saying I was, but I could have been, but I think I might have been, but maybe I'm not going to admit it, for legal reasons, blah, blah, blah. But definitely 30 people, and that's just in Texas and Missouri and, well, actually East Coast, West Coast, actually about 30 people across the U.S. alone that were benefiting from it. And that's not to take into account other people, obviously, outside of that network of individuals that benefited from CDR-Shop. And when you see how much that they were cranking out, they were making hand over fist. And that takes a lot of money away from Games Workshop, which some people will suggest that's the reason why they raise their prices. Maybe. They're not going to admit it, and they're most certainly not going to show us any sort of statistic to back up their claim, even if they made that claim. But I think anybody out there that has a business degree in such things, somebody I could actually trust what they have to say versus, well, I have a friend or I read a book. I would trust somebody that's actually in the business to be able to go, hey, John, that's 100% legit why they raise their prices. I don't think so. I think we've already figured out why they raise their prices, but that's neither here nor there. But still, kudos to Games Workshop for tackling this issue. Unfortunately, it's not going to go away, and it's just going to raise its head somewhere else. And we already know that they've got high quality molds. Somebody else is going to fill the shoe. And as long as Games Workshop still does their near, I don't want to say predatory business practices, but their price increases, their unnecessary price increases, I think this is going to continue. And as long as they're the big boy in the block, they are definitely going to be getting hit hard left and right. for a long time. It won't take long for, especially with all the new Forge World, or not Forge World, but the new Horse Heresy miniature line that Games Workshop is producing that were Forge World resin models. People are going to be looking even harder for those recasters to snag up that cheaper, better quality product now before it comes out, before GW shuts them down and they have to pay exorbitant prices, I think that's the right word, for the plastic kits that will probably meet or exceed the existing cost of the Forge World kit. So we'll see. We'll see. This could be an excellent time to actually get into Forge World or Horse Heresy in regards to those resin to plastic models, because they might be cheaper than the resin models. We'll see. Who knows? I would definitely like to pay not $583 for a Mastodon tank. I'd rather be paying maybe $140 for a Mastodon tank, but who knows? We'll see what Games Workshop has in store for us price-wise, especially when that stuff goes on sale this week. This video went a little bit longer than I expected because I started ranting, but let me know what you guys think about this. Let me know what you think about the Chinese recaster. I'm not asking you if you've used CDR, but if you want to comment about CDR, feel free to. Let me know what you guys think. I think overall, I'm happy that they've taken down, that they are protecting their IP and they're showing, hey, don't violate our IP, because there's a lot of, now I don't care too much about Games Workshop, but I'm more worried about the little guys, like say Atomic Mass Games or RTLW or some of these other 3D print companies out there that are putting out like turn-based miniatures, C27 minis and terrain, people that put out a lot of effort into their product, and then people are illegally benefiting off of that, right? I'm more worried about the little guys than the big corporate guys. Screw them. But for the little guys, I know there's a little hypocritical, ethical thing going on there with me, but that's just how I feel. Let me know what you guys think. I'm going to stop ranting. You guys have yourself a wonderful day. I'll chat with you later.